Hello and welcome to TheoryCraft, where we discuss various comic book theories as well as craft our own. This week, we're deconstructing DC Comics, specifically their movies. Some have been good, some not so good. And that is pretty much this week's episode. So, we're starting off with Justice League. Now, for me personally, I thought it was too soon bringing in Justice League. You'd only just had Batman v Superman, which was a goodish movie, despite having Ben Affleck, but that's a whole other thingy bob for another time.
That's a whole other video in itself.
But essentially, the whole idea, I think they were trying to come across with the sort of Batman Dark Knight sort of series where he's like retired Batman, then he comes back, and I understand the whole point that they were trying to make, that he sees Superman as a threat, because that's Batman in general. He's always seen Superman as a threat.
Yeah.
But my issue is, like, they ruined Doomsday with that, because it wasn't just, oh, we altered General Zod and we made him into this weird thing that didn't even look like Doomsday, but eventually did. Lex Luthor, what the... Like, Jesse Eisenberg, he's a great actor, don't get me wrong. He's done a lot of good movies.
Yeah, I know, I understand. Very talented man.
But, like... But the thing is, like... I didn't seem like Lex Luthor. Like, everyone I've seen do reviews on it said that he was more suited as the Riddler, because all he did was, like, random ranting, like, quoting of people. And it's like, Lex Luthor is not insane. He's just a really... really smart guy.
I think what a lot of fans are quite miffed at is having, like, obviously you're Lex Luthor, such an iconic, like this,
but
like Batman, but it's kind of like, you know, with so much reference to go back on, especially like the comics and movies as well. Of Lex Luthor, fans are they're wondering, how the hell could you screw this up?
Yeah,
you know?
But the thing as well to forget is the fact that they're supposed to be the same age, because within the comics, from what I've done a little bit of research on, they both grew up in Smallville. Like, Lionel Luthor was a farm worker. They rewrote it in Smallville, which is fine. But essentially, like, they were next door neighbours, in a sense. So it made sense that there was, like, curiosity from Lex Luthor, who, for whatever reason, did what he did and became the multi-millionaire that he is today.
Yeah.
But then when you have him, like, he just didn't seem like a super
imposing villain.
No, he just seemed like a really spoiled billionaire kid that just wanted to Instagram the world. Like, it just, I don't know. I mean, the only thing they have done really well is cast Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, because she just seems like the perfect person to be Wonder Woman. Like, she's not meant to be this all-powerful... She is, like, in a sense, the daughter of Hades, because that's one thing they reveal, I think it was years back in the comics. So she is, like, half god. But she's not meant to be absolutely perfect.
No.
She's just meant to be a warrior woman, essentially. She's a Wonder Woman. But, like, did really well.
So you don't have any complaints about the way that
No, I mean, there are probably a lot of things that they will add in through the next film, which
yeah, obviously.
But it's just... I mean, there isn't a lot you can add to Wonder Woman beside the fact that she was a female warrior woman that's technically immortal. I don't know how it works, because her original origin was really odd. I never understood it anyway, but... Like, she's a warrior woman, and then she just doesn't stop. She doesn't age from, like, being an adult onwards.
No.
Okay.
Right.
Fair enough, but yeah, I think they did well with that. I've not
kind
watched...
of a little bit like the Wolverine thing.
Yeah.
Stayed at an adult age for like maybe 50, 60, 80 plus years.
Yeah. But I've not watched the Wonder Woman movie, but I have seen parts of it.
I've not seen it yet.
I have seen parts of it, and I do think they did quite well as an idea of it being a prequel. I very rarely say it, because prequels are hard to do, because they're time constraint. But for her, it made sense because it was like decades before there was any Superman Batman, so it gave her a chance to show who she is and what she is.
Yeah.
But when it came to Justice League, this is where I think they went wrong. They brought back Superman way too soon.
And why don't we like go into like your reasons why, and then our reasons why we're trying.
Yeah. So the whole Batman v Superman, I think they were trying to play off the idea of the death of Superman plus the Dark Knight Returns. That worked, okay? I liked that. Like, the whole point was Superman dies and then Batman feels guilty and then tries to look for other people. That's why the whole point of Justice League is him looking for the Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman. That's it. Because there's no Green Lantern, even though that was a deleted scene, apparently. That was
apparently so. If there is, I've not seen it.
Yeah, so there's so many deleted scenes, which, to be honest, I'm not surprised because of the amount of rewrites that he did. But what I think they could have done instead is done Justice League differently, not have the Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman, but look into the reign of Superman, where you have all these various Supermen to replace Superman because he died. But instead of having like the Eradicator as the Kal-El-esque version,
so you're saying that maybe Bruce Wayne, like Batman, would have been the real Superman.
Well, not the real Superman, but say an alternative because he realised like his role that he played. Because Superman was basically, even though he was an almighty powerful person, he was still good at heart and he knew his role amongst the rest of the world. Like, he could have been a god, like in the weird flashbacky thing, which I never understood in Batman v, where he loses his absolute mind because Lois dies. That was the one thing that really bugged me because it's like...
Why did it bug you?
Because they never declared whether or not it was an actual thing where the Flash comes back and warns them about it, or whether it was just a random dream sequence. Because, like, you have the director say one thing, but then you have, like, actors say another. I don't understand why they even bother having the Flash in it as a random cameo. If you're not even going to follow through with the whole concept of it being, like, ghosts of, like, future past, sort of, like, warning him about saving Martha or whoever. Just, yeah.
Even though Batman v Superman is forever going to be a stupid concept to me. Like, I don't care if you're a fan of it. I just think it's just like, especially with having Bruce Wayne, Batman being a mortal human, but that's a video for another time in a moment for another. But with the death of Superman, I wouldn't have brought Superman back so soon.
No,
especially like would have made it a 2-part. No, I would not have brought Superman back in Justice League. So I kind of feel like when he was just kind of thrust in and like near enough at the beginning of the film, because it kind of ruined. It kind of like I can compare it just for a second to like Avengers: Infinity War, when like a lot of the heroes die, and you left the cinema going, oh.
Yeah, it wasn't resolved within 5 minutes.
No, it wasn't resolved that quickly. So you could have had a whole film without Superman.
Yeah.
Maybe a brief mention, but just not mention Superman at all.
Yeah.
I would have preferred that. Then you could have played it off a little bit at the end and then lead into the next.
Well, this is where my idea goes in, where... Because he's hunting down throughout the movie, like, the alternative Superman. So instead of having, like, the Eradicator, Cyborg, Superman, Superboy... You could have had Shazam as the magical-esque, because that was the point with Shazam. He was a magical version of Superman, but kidding. It's weird, but yeah, it's the magic version of Superman. That's what I class him as. Then you could have had Captain Atom, which could have been the military-esque version. Because the one thing that they always have with Superman is, like, he does, like, they always make it out to be like he's the one that's representing America, but he's not.
But he's not, though.
He's saving humanity as a whole because he always goes to various locations and saves the world. But it would make sense with the way that America is that they would manufacture their own Superman and create Captain Atom, who is essentially the nuclear version of Superman. Yeah. Like he's got the mass of the muscles. He's pretty much the same, with regards to like the strength and the durability, but he doesn't have as many powers. He's more sort of molecules and sciencey. It's not just, oh, I have these many powers that somehow save the day, despite the fact that it makes no sense. And then it was going to be Captain Sam.
I mean, I have to go back through the.
Yeah. We'll be right back after
One
these
sec.
interludes. Martian Manhunter, that was the other one.
Yeah.
So, my theory going with Martian Manhunter, I know it wouldn't happen because, unfortunately, the logic is with WB, despite the fact they own every single DC character, they don't ever use a character that's already being used in a TV show at the same time as a movie, which really mind boggles me because how the hell do you make any TV or any media stuff if you're not going to have...
Yeah, but then I can kind of understand that if you're having like non-comic book fans coming to watch it, then they go and follow on as well. But I think if you're gonna do something more for the die-hard fan, why not do that?
Yeah, but then
even though that can confuse like timelines and so on.
Yeah, but then there's like you can easily just play it off as it's just the multiverse. Like this is just a different version of them. That's like
it's not really that difficult.
No, it's not that difficult. But yeah, Martian Manhunter, I think they could have done as the alien aspect of Superman. So it could have been like Batman is hunting around for the various ways of bringing back a Superman-esque guy into a team. And he sees what looks like Superman, but he knows it's not. Like, subtle hints, like the way he acts, the way he flies, perhaps the way he fights, because Martian Manhunter is basically differently skilled to, like, Superman. Superman just punches real hard and that's it, but with Martian Manhunter, it's more stealth, it's agile, it's a lot more sophisticated fighting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then I suppose the best way that you could also reveal the idea that it's not Superman is like he never goes towards burning buildings. Because the weird weakness for Martian Manhunter is that he's afraid of fire.
Would you really kind of like play that off in Justice
Yes,
League?
I would. I'd have like say this massive tower building that perhaps Bruce Wayne sets up. He wouldn't obviously hurt anybody. But
as a setup.
Yeah, as a setup, that's a burning building and waits for the Martian man to turn up, and there's no sign. But you see, like, this random person that's just having a massive panic attack that is just hiding away watching it all, and then they shift off into the darkness, and he knows that it's not Superman, but he knows it's something alien.
Yeah.
And then, being Batman, he finds a way. It's bat logic. But it is. But, like, that's the three ideas that I have. The better way of bringing in Justice League is, like, him and Diana could hunt for these various Supermen. I would bring in Aquaman, though. I think Aquaman was amazing. Jason Momoa, despite the fact he doesn't look anything like the normal Aquaman.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah, but he made Aquaman cool.
But Jason Momoa made Aquaman his own.
He made it cool. Like,
yeah, made it wicked. Because as soon as I heard about Aquaman, I thought, oh, it's going to be crap.
Like, the thing is, Aquaman has been the butt joke of DC for decades.
Honestly, if you go back and look at like the earliest illustrations of Aquaman, it looks so like the boots and the freaking fish. Like,
but the thing is, it's like he's literally a joke in SpongeBob because it's Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy is the of Aquaman and Aqualad.
Yeah,
but like. Yeah, I think that worked really well. I wasn't a fan of Cyborg. Like, I know that he's been rewritten so many times over the decades, but he's not a Justice League member. Technically, he's part of the Teen Titans, but he was only rewritten as part of the Justice League, part of the New 52, with the many reboots of DC.
Like in a little bit, would you have like maybe cut the cast down quite significantly? The heroes down?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, I wouldn't have had Flash because I didn't like the suit.
I didn't like a lot about
the suit. Really bugged me. Like, I don't know what it is with WB. Even the TV show, The Flash, they seem to dumb him down, and he's like one of the smartest people in all of DC. Like him and Batman actually work on cases, like cold cases together, because Ariana's a CSI. But in the TV show and the films, they just make him out to be, I run really quick and just hope for the best. Like, that's literally how he works.
It's like playing him off to be a really dumb character.
I wouldn't say dumb, I just think gullible is probably the only way I can... But it's like, the thing that, there's the scene in Justice League where they're all with Gordon.
Yeah.
And they're on the, like, everyone just shimmies off, and then Flash is like, I suppose everyone's gone. How the hell does the fastest man alive not even see people move? Like, seriously. Like, I don't care if it's Batman. Yes, I know the Batman is, I am Batman. But that's not the point. Like, you got a guy with a flipping trident. How the hell do you not miss a trident? And then you got like a guy that literally...
Especially like just Momo's like 6'4" or 6'5".
Exactly. But then you've also got like a guy that is literally part robot, and he will clink and clatter every step he takes.
How do you not?
Exactly. Like, unless he's got like quiet mode enabled in his feet or something. Yeah. But I think other than that, I think Justice League would have been a bit more interesting had it been more about bringing in a replacement Superman, and not so much just the whole Steppenwolf and the parademons, because it was too soon for that. The thing I said to you, and I'm sure everyone else may agree, DC's trying too hard to create its universe to match up to Marvel. Marvel had 10 years to do this. And they didn't technically plan it, if you think about it. Like, originally it was Hulk, Captain America, and Iron Man were all separate. There was no definitively connected thing.
It was not like as with the timelines. Originally, like for the first part of it, it wasn't meant to turn out that way.
No,
it was just origin films.
Yeah, it was just literally solo
sequels.
movies and just hope for the best. But because Iron Man did so well, they had to think, you know what, we'll try and sort of slide it in a bit more. And it worked. It was a slow burn. Granted, like, Thor's a bit iffy, but it did save itself. Great. But with DC, you'd only just had one Superman. Not even had Wonder Woman yet. Batman wasn't even Christian Bale, so it was a whole new Batman we had to learn. And even then, it was like, well, why does this Batman have this Robin suit covered? Because non-fans wouldn't know what that was all about. So again, it's all these, like, hints at stories that have not even been established, which is hard to try and explain to people that don't have the time or effort to look into it. So, with Justice League, the dark side and all the, like, Apocalypse and New God stuff, it's something you wait 10 years to develop.
Yeah.
But
instead of, like, it just kind of felt in that film just trying to cram everything in.
It was just literally... It's DC. We got the Trinity, and we just.
I know it's Justice League and it's a big film, but it's kind of like, look what we have.
Yeah,
please,
explosions. Save everybody, even though everything's burning and exploding. But save everybody.
It just felt too much.
Yeah, it was just like
too much too soon.
I think it just felt like they're trying to grab random things from the comic and put it in a blender and hope for the best. Because. For me, Justice League, I love the Justice League series, like the 90s cartoon show. Like, I love that series because they built it up really well. Because, of course, it was originally Superman, then there was the Batman animated series. You'd already established Flash and Superman.
Yeah.
It was like a slow burn that brought everyone in together. And it worked. Like, there was no... Like, it started off in a big way because it was the White Martian invasion. But that's what draws you in, is that you have to have people collide in, but you have to establish them as well.
Yeah.
But they do...
There's kind of like, just for those characters, when you just pop them in films, like, especially in like superhero, like, fans, like, if it's not done right, fans will crap all over that.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's... I kind of comparing it to the Avengers, like, you care about these.
Yeah.
You've seen, like, their origin stories, how they come to be in that place
With
everybody else. But when you decide to segue and decide, oh no, we don't want to spend too much time on that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, well, you're not going to lose like a lot of interest in like the characters per se, but you're going to have a lot less confidence in the way the character development, the way the film is actually going with them.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, for me, it's like the Aquaman movie was solid. Like it could have worked as a prequel movie. They didn't hint at anything Justice League in that.
No,
and it would have worked.
I loved the film.
Yeah.
I only watched it the other day actually, and I thought it was wicked.
It's amazing because it sets the groundwork to a whole other world within the normal world. That's what's been missing from the DC universe in the movies, I think. They did a bit with Wonder Woman, I've seen, but again, I don't think they bring a lot out of it.
No.
And then it's like I don't even know if they're even going to try doing a Flash movie, because it was supposed to come out this year, but then things had gone awry, and then the actor was too busy doing Fantastic Beasts 1 or 2. And I feel like DC haven't got an actual plan anymore. They're just sort of thinking, well, we know this kind of works, so if we just add enough explosions and random fight scenes, it will be a solid movie, but it won't.
Yeah, like it's kind of when we was having that little bit of a discussion, talking about having these iconic, even characters.
Yeah.
Instead of having like the whole character development, the whole storytelling, saying, "Oh, they're just big bulky blokes that like to bash things up," and that's pretty much it. Just add an explosion in there, another one in there, another fight in there. But anything, it's like some fans. I want that, but if you've been like fans for a long time, you're gonna want like the character development as well. That's just me.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is my argument as well, is the fact that we need to explain what these characters are, because not all superheroes have the same story.
No.
Like, there are a few that do repeat the same tropes, like it's either death of a loved one that inspire them to become who they are, etc., etc.
The world and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But they have different ways about coming about it. It's like with The Flash, his is probably the most confusing origin story and a paradox in itself.
Oh, yes.
But it's a good story that I think would make a really good...
Yeah, but it's the complexity which is like been missing from a lot of different DC.
Yeah, but it's like with the TV show, and I think it could work for a film of The Flash, it should be more like...
The TV show could have worked so well!
It should have been like CW's version of CSI.
Yeah.
But instead, it became so fixated on overdramatic twaddle, the politest word I can think of, because it's YouTube. But it is, though. This is what bugs me, is like the CW dramatize everything to the point where you spend...
It's just goofy.
But you spend like half each episode crying about something that's not even relevant by the end of the actual episode. Because it's like... Yeah, I know Smallville was also done by CW, and that was quite over the top sometimes. But it had 10 years on the fact that it was building towards Superman. But with The Flash, I don't think they even had faith with it, because the one thing I found out was that the plan was, if it didn't do well within its first season, The Flash was going to be a cameo character in Arrow, because of course he was set up in Arrow first.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell that was what they were going to do, because by the end of season...
where it was aiming for.
Yeah, because by the end of season 1, everything was wrapped up in a nice little bow. Come season 2, and you think, well, how does this work? How does that work? And there's like they just keep knocking it off till like the 4th season. It was just time travel logic. But that really annoys me.
Yeah, but that was just a cop out for me.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what I mean. Like, they use time travel logic so much to the point where it's like, well,
the point where
what's actually consistent?
The point is already ridiculous enough. But when you get to that point of being ridiculous and then go past it,
yeah,
to the point it's just a confusing mess, storytelling mess.
But like I say, what they should do for the film, if they ever make it, is do it like a crime movie, like some sort of crime drama, if that makes sense. Because he's a CSI.
Like, what kind of rating would you have? Like,
I wouldn't say R-rated, because The Flash is never R-rated anyway.
But, like, for what would you do? Like,
I would say you could have, like, some mini flashbacks to like they did with the CW, set up the idea that there was this weird flash of lightning when he was a kid, and his mum gets murdered by some random yellow blur. Obviously, have better effects because but to go from there, and you could like show that his obsession with science is what made him the man today.
Yeah.
Because that's what's been missing a lot as well from the CW's version, is the fact that he's a CSI. He knows a lot about different things in science, but he spends half his time with his powers asking people that don't have his powers how to use them. Like, he's asking one of his, like, co-workers who is a biologist, how does he throw lightning?
How the hell is he going to be able to shed any light on that thing? How?
Well, Killer Frost, like the biologist, I never understand what relevance she was, and yeah, I mean,
why are you here?
like she's been better now, obviously. Like they've wrote her a lot better. But I do think they sort of sidetracked the whole point of Barry Allen being a smart man, and just made it all soppy and overdramatic. And I think it's going to be something that's going to take a lot of undoing when it comes to the movies, if they ever do it.
Personally, there is going to be a...
So do
I'm hoping.
So do I. I mean, there's one of two ways they could do it. They could either bring in Reverse Flash, which would be a good way, but it would be a lot of hard work to sort of explain to those who don't understand time travel. Or you could bring in the Rogues, where it's like the team of like villains that go up against the Flash every now and then.
Yeah.
Which actually that would work better as like a crime thing. They could be like a heist crew, and it could be like a sort of MI6 sort of Mission Impossible-esque idea, and Barry Allen's like the lead investigator to try and track them down.
Yeah.
That would actually be a quite solid movie. But it's just trying to do it in such a way that it's not so outlandish that people are like, well, he's really quick, he could get this done in 5 minutes. But it's like, yeah, but don't forget you got Captain Cold, you got Mirror Mouse, you got Weather Wizard, you got Golden Glider, Heatwave. Like, yeah.
So let's say, like I was saying, like, with a film like that, so if that film did happen...
Yeah.
And then... Do you feel that might have been a much more acceptable way to introduce like the Flash possibly into Justice League, or would you still not have had the Flash?
I would do him perhaps the second Justice League.
Yeah.
Because
otherwise if you try and like put in too much into the film too soon, where you could do so much more.
Yeah.
Like that's when you have like the part one and part two.
Yeah.
Like it's a slow it's kind of like, it's just a slow climb. It's a very slow climb.
Yeah. I mean, because like I say, part one should be more about trying to bring in Superman or his replacement. You could end that Justice League movie with just it go to like the end title, cut to black, and then fade in just like this Superman resurrection suit that's black and silver, and then just go to be continued and just leave it off at there.
Yeah, or even you could have that as like, because there's quite a lot of people that stay around like for the end credits, see if there's an end credits.
That's what I mean.
If you had that in an end credits scene, but I was like thinking of the idea of as the credits are rolling, you know, you think as the credits are rolling at the start, we think it's I have a weird glitch effect on screen.
Yeah.
Then that scene comes.
Yeah.
Just completely out of the blue, and then go straight back to the credits again.
Yeah.
So you go, wait, what?
Yes. Yeah, exactly, because
might as well play around with it, like create some.
This is why I didn't like Justice League, was they brought back Superman way too soon.
Yeah.
Like, he'd only just died the previous movie.
And plus, because it was filmed, like Henry Cavill was filmed in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, he was doing Mission Impossible.
And like, they had to CGI that mustache.
I love that, but it's just, you can tell so bad, because it's like...
The CGI is awful, because you see him like... You see him like, because his top lip, when he talks, just, it doesn't move, it's still the same.
Well, from what I saw, it looked more like there was a really big gap between his nose and his lip, and it just looks like...
Can you imagine how much of a pain in that film was, having to like go frame by frame to paint that out?
But why are going off on a tangent? We do this a lot here. what they could have done for Mission Impossible, instead of him growing out the mustache, he could have just worn a fake one. Like, save so much time and effort, because it's not... I mean, I know obviously sticky mustaches don't always work, but they do ones now, like, clip inside your nose, where there's, like, little fake wires, so you can't see that.
And even because of how good, like, prosthetics are like, nowadays, because I did prosthetics and makeup at college, and, like, some of the prosthetics which you can get for, like, skin, or, like, for torn skin, that kind of thing... You know, prosthetics like for hair are so good these days.
Yeah.
Like,
so it probably cost them so much less than the CGI budget for that top lip.
Like the top lip could have saved them, I don't know, under £100 maybe.
I was going to say 200.
Yeah, push.
Yeah, because but yeah, I think, like I say,
but anyway, bringing Superman in too early.
Superman was brought back too early. Darkseid, the Steppenwolf, and the Parademons, again, that was way too early. But, yeah, I think that pretty much summed up that part.
Yeah.
Okie doke. So, next topic. Swiss Army heroes. You're wondering, huh? What I mean is there are a few heroes within DC, and I'm sure Marvel has the same issue, where they have one technical superpower, but there's a multitude of things they can do with it. So, for example, we have the Flash. He has super speed. That's literally all he has. But, with that comes phasing. He can run super fast, obviously. He can even speed up his own thinking. And other things linked to super speed. You can alter the time in a sense.
If you have super speed, you have super heat.
Yeah, friction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the weird thing is, though, one of the Flashes, known as Wally West, can manipulate his speed to fly. Yeah, even I found this a really odd one, was that apparently he can vibrate his body so much that he can phase through the air to make him...
Maybe that kind of goes more into like the science kind of world. If it's maybe going so fast, if you're displacing gravity, and a bit sciencey, maybe going so fast you're displacing gravity, which maybe could try and explain it, but then it doesn't kind of cancel out gravity's pulling you to the earth, holding you to the ground. So.
But then it's like in the early on Barry Allen Flash comics. He was able to run through the clouds by basically vibrating his feet to generate icicles in the clouds, because all clouds have icicles in it and like water vapor and stuff.
Yeah.
To literally run on clouds, which is a really cool idea, but a bit impractical at the same time. Because for one, you'd have to be running in a straight line up a building in the first place to get to the clouds. You'd have to find a building tall enough. But you'd also have to watch for birds and air traffic.
Yeah. Helicopters.
All air traffic. But, yeah, so with the Flash, he has literally just super speed, and then he can also create wind tunnels, and it all manipulation of speed. And it's, I don't know, sometimes it does come a bit odd how far they stretch his powers.
Yeah.
Because... there was, during the New 52, it was the second comic where he found out he had speed thinking. So essentially, it would show how he perceives his world by speeding up his own brain thinking processes. Everything around him looked super slow. They sort of used it in the Flash TV series and called it Flash Time. Which makes sense, because, of course, if you're going to be super speedy, you need the brain power to process it all. I think the only downside to it was this weird thing that he was moving so fast, or thinking so fast, that he wasn't acknowledging everything around him at the right rate, if that makes sense.
Well, at the same rate as, even the same rate as I'm sat here and I'm processing everything that's happening around me, like sound and so on.
So essentially he would be thinking faster, but he wouldn't be visually looking or...
So his brain still wouldn't be able to catch up.
Well, his brain would be moving so fast that his eyes and the rest of him weren't aware of his surroundings.
After all, like your eyes and your ears, like the signals go through your eyes into your brain.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the thing is, like, the brain has only so much it can do, as we all know. And of course, then there's all the other functions it does on the back burner.
Yeah.
But then if you try and overload it by doing it 10 times or however fast that the Flash runs, it's going to conk out like a computer. But I don't know. It's a bit of an
it's kind of like a computer, like maybe too much data to process.
Yeah,
it's way too much to process. Which thus, what happens to your computer? It's going to crash.
Exactly. But that's only just one hero that has Swiss Army powers, as I like to call it. Now, the next one I think makes a lot of sense is Green Lantern. All of the Lantern Corps within DC Comics have the same Swiss Army idea.
Yeah.
That it all feeds on whatever colour emotional spectrum that they represent, and then it generates all their powers from it. So you get flight, you get construct making, you get shields, you get universal translator. I mean, majority of it all comes under the construct specs anyway, but essentially the Green Lantern is just willpower.
Yeah.
But it all generates various things from that willpower. That's why it's only a select few people are capable of it, because you need enough of it to work. But there does come a point where it seems a bit, he's got enough willpower to do this job. Like, okay, if that's the point, how come this cosmic power hasn't stopped all evil in existence? Because Hal Jordan is supposed to be the most powerful Green Lantern there's ever been. Like, he was the one that somehow surpassed the yellow impurity from the rings, because he freed Parallax from the back. It was a very weird thing. But apparently Hal Jordan is the most powerful Green Lantern there has ever been, because he's even been able to use Krona's Gauntlet, which is essentially a gauntlet version of the Green Lantern power ring. But it's like the power of 10 rings instead of 1. But again, it all if, buts and maybes, because it's like, I don't know if they undid it all now, but Hal Jordan had the gauntlet, then he decided to manufacture his own ring from his own willpower to be a Green Lantern again. But it means that he doesn't have to charge his ring anymore, because it's not connected to the rest of the Green Lantern power batteries. So essentially, as long as he's got enough willpower to keep him going, he has infinite power.
Right.
But he's just a man from Earth. He's just a fighter pilot. Like,
do not forget that.
Like, he's literally a man that flies aeroplanes. He's somehow got enough willpower to have infinite power forever.
Right, hang on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I've probably missed bits over the years, because it's hard to try and track down the comics.
Okay, so using his willpower now has unlimited willpower, I suppose?
Well, it's the fact that his ring isn't connected to the power battery means that he no longer has to charge himself up when his power levels are low, because it's synced to his own willpower.
Right, yeah, I think I get it.
I mean, there are, of course, other Green Lanterns that are quite powerful as well. Like, you've got Kyle Rayner, who I think is probably the one of few Lanterns that have fun with their powers.
Yeah.
Because he was just an artist in Metropolis, but he's able to create more intricate constructs. I was looking into it the other day, and while you got, like, Guy Gardner, and you got John Stewart and Hal Jordan, who do very military-esque constructs because they're from the military. You got Kyle Rayner, who will create just anything out of his own creativity. And it's just, there was a point, I think it was a few years back, where he was declared as Space Jesus, because he had every single power ring from the Lantern Spectrum and then became a White Lantern, which is life. And he got so overpowered that it took Dr. Manhattan from the Watchmen universe to take away his powers and make him just a Green Lantern again. But that was a bit of a cop-out to try and get rid of him that way.
Although hopefully it's going to be... hopefully, I definitely hope it's going to be put right. I mean, I did not like the Green Lantern movie.
I don't think anyone did, to be fair.
No, apart from like maybe the 1% of people. But although I can't remember when, I think it's either year 2022 or 2023 is a new Green Lantern film coming out.
Well, that's been put on the back burner because there is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were gonna. I think it was meant to come out next year.
Well, so was it going to be a rehash of like an origin story?
It was going to be the Green Lantern Corps, like literally, like as a whole sort of thing. But they've put that on the back burner because as of next year, the Green Lantern Corps is actually going to be a TV series instead on the HBO.
So it's been moved from movie to series.
Well, to be fair, with the way that all things comic book are going, I think TV is better than movie because you have more chance of developing a story better. And if you think about it, each episode would be roughly, an hour? And you have, say, 10 episodes minimum for each series.
And I think
that's a 10-hour movie.
And I kind of think if you're listening to your audience when you're releasing individual episodes, you'll be getting constant feedback on like the series anyway.
Yeah,
you'll be getting constant feedback on like whether it's Instagram or Twitter or any kind of social media, stating their opinions about the series and so on. You know, so getting that constant feedback is definitely a lot helpful than just putting out a finished product like a film. I'm wondering if it's going to be well received or not.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the other thing as well is, like, I find when it comes to TV shows, because they're a bit more restricted in their CGI budget, they have to make the actual props. So it makes things a lot more believable and a bit more fluid when you have more sci-fi stuff. Like, CGI doesn't seem to equal great when it comes to films.
It's like I really miss the practical effects. Like for Star Wars, I can't remember the planet. I think it was called Hoth. When you had the Tauntauns and everything. When you see that scene of Han Solo running on a Tauntaun to find Luke, that was all done with little miniatures.
Well, yeah, because it was stop motion.
And like those practical effects just are nearly extinct now.
Well, this is the thing. Like CGI, while it does make things a lot easier, I suppose, when it comes to filming.
I suppose you can. You know, because there's certain things which happen in movies and in real life that just cannot be replicated through like stunts or through practical effects. That's when you have to do the whole visual effects, like CGI and so on.
But at the same point, it can be a bit of a cop out because it's hard to try and make it believable that there's something there.
I mean, if you can do it practically, you know, why would you not do it?
Well, it's like when they were doing the filming for The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. There was a scene where Sir Ian McKellen is in the room with all of them. All the characters are supposed to be shorter than him because you've got the dwarves, you've got the hobbits, and you've got the elves.
Yeah.
And what they should have done instead is use a technique called forced perspective. So you should have had Sir Ian McKellen like really close to the camera, then you should have had the elves a bit further away, the dwarves a bit further away, then the hobbits a bit further away to make it like the right heights. But the way that they filmed it instead was they had all of them guys in one room, and then Sir Ian McKellen on his own in a green screen room. And the saddest thing I saw was that he breaks down and cries after they finish filming the scene, and he just says, like, this isn't how I did my career, this isn't acting for me, this is just sad. And it is! Like, it's meant to be a collaboration of people, but when you use CGI... It just goes, we can just add this in later when we can be bothered.
When you're so dependent on CGI, you don't want to go through the effort of like making practical effects. No, it's like when you see in pretty much all the Wolverine films, the X-Men, because Wolverine is the comics. Is he 5'3", 5'5"?
5'5".
5'5". Very short guy. So. When you see Hugh Jackman in the films playing Wolverine, because they know he's a short guy, they really show this in if you know what to look for with angles and used a camera before. If you see Hugh Jackman in the first X-Men film, Bryan Singer shoots him from angles all over the place. They're always above his head Always, they're always kind of above his head to make him look shorter, because Hugh Jackman's about 6'3", 6'4",
something like that. Yeah,
yeah, very tall. So that's why they're shooting angles all over the place as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, with Green Lantern, he has, just like the Flash, one power that literally becomes a Swiss army of multiple esque ideas that they can use whenever. And there are some times where that's cool, but it's also not convenient. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's a one-trick pony where just suddenly it's part of his tool belt.
It's just there.
Yeah, I mean,
accept it.
It's the other character that I can think of off the top of my head, well, the other two, which are literally the same power, is Plastic Man and Elongated Man, which is essentially DC's version of Mr. Fantastic. And essentially all it is that you can stretch yourself to be what you need to be. But there is a bit of a tweak to it as well. Now, I think it's with Plastic Man, he's able to shapeshift himself to look like people.
Yeah.
Like anyone he can think of, but Mr. Fantastic can't, and neither can Elongated Man. But the weird thing is, Elongated Man in the Flash TV series can. Yeah, it's very odd because the way Plastic Man got his powers was he was originally like this crook that worked with a gang. He got taken down by Batman. He ends up going to a vat of acid, like all of his Batman villains. But instead of making him insane like the Joker, it somehow like melts his skin in a way that makes him really pliable and plastic, so he becomes Plastic Man. So he's literally like Play-Doh. He's like really stretchy and gooey and bleh. But with Elongated Man, his powers are a very, very odd thing where he was trying to look into how to like manipulate his body in becoming a better PI, because like that's what his job is, being a PI.
Yeah.
And so he was researching how contortionists are able to manipulate their body. And so he comes across something called gin gold, which is this extract from a fruit that allows like a bit of flexibility from the body. So when he does this, he decides that he'll take a more extreme version of it, which ends up causing his body to be so stretchy and so flexible that he becomes Elongated Man. Like, it's a hell of a mouthful to call himself Elongated Man. Like, it's elongated his name, but...
Long Man?
Well, Mr. Stretchy Pants doesn't work, I suppose, but... Mr. Stretch.
Very Long Man?
I mean, you can't really call him anything else but like I say, like, it's a stretchy power. You stretch the limits, literally, by just having him be able to stretch for anything. I don't know what else you could do with him. Like, he's literally just, I can stretch myself to be either the shape of a trampoline to save these people from falling down, or I can stretch myself so flat that I can go underneath doors. Other than that, what else can you do with those powers?
You're you're limited, obviously.
Yeah, because, I mean... Going back to the Flash, of course, he has accelerated healing because of the speed, means that he heals faster than normal people.
Right.
Because it's accelerated healing, because he's a speedster, that makes sense. With Elongated Man in the CW, I don't know if it is consistent in the comics, apparently he cannot be harmed because his skin cells stretch so much that they can't be torn. I mean, that kind of makes sense, because it's literally, he's stretching himself to the point where he can't be broken down. But, like all things, like, you can only stretch it so far before it does go snap. It's like, literally like an elastic band. You can't stretch it forever and ever and ever. There is a certain limit. And I don't know, it's a very odd power to try and explain. But, I don't think there's any other... characters off the top of my head.
I just see more weakness. Like you've seen with Mr. Fantastic. Sorry, Ghost. We see Mr. Fantastic. Saw in he was the first Fantastic Four, I think, where Dr. Doom's saying to him, you know, what happens when you superheat rubber? You know, we saw what happens.
Yeah.
Or like when you freeze but when you freeze anything, it turns into a solid, or
Yeah.
maybe a very, very pliable kind of solid. I'm not sure if that even is a term, but you see when he's frozen, and he still manages to bend, except he can't bend without cracking,
Yeah,
and possibly breaking. So,
but off the top of my head, I don't think there is many characters that can have just one power and then everything else is like a subsidiary sort of power. I'm trying to think who else may. I mean, going Marvel way, of course, you got the Invisible Woman. Her power is literally just manipulating the invisible aura that she has. She creates invisible barriers, she can fly with the invisible discs. Although I never understood that.
I never understood that either.
Like, how do you fly on something you can't see? Granted, Wonder Woman has invisible plane, and she can even fly herself anyway. But, yeah. Yeah, it does seem a bit of a letdown, because then, when the superheroes that only have one power gets depowered, what can they do? Nothing. Like, I'm sure there has been loads of times when, like, Superman and various other characters have been depowered, but they always have a backup. There's always, like, some way of them coming back, if that. But it's like with Superman, I think it was before they did the reboot again, there was this weird power he suddenly had called a solar flare.
So, well, that wasn't with Christopher Reeve.
No. I mean, in the comics.
How far back? Oh, right.
In the comics, it was like 2015. They gave him a new ability called Solar Flare, which basically meant that he could release all the solar energy he absorbed and blast it at somebody, but it meant that he didn't have his own normal powers until he recharged himself, because of course his powers come from the solar sun.
Yeah.
Which is all well and good, but the thing is, it's like he technically doesn't have any real fighting skills like Batman. He just, at the end of the day, he's just a very muscly guy that's able to punch things hard enough to win.
Yeah,
but there's no finesse to it.
Yeah, Batman, Bruce Wayne, who trained for years in martial arts and other disciplines.
Yes.
So that's the difference.
So this is why I find it interesting when you have characters that only have one power, because they learn different ways to manipulate the one ability they have. So it makes it a lot more believable when they are stuck, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what to add to that?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the final deconstruction discussion of DC today is, how would you bring in Darkseid as a better plan than what DC attempted and failed already?
Yeah, so basically, we would have done. How would we make it better if we had the chance to go back and rewrite the entire thing?
So for me, if DC were to try and actually do the 10-year plan like Marvel did, do the Infinity War, the whole build up to Big Bad, have Darkseid as their version of Thanos, I would do it as his pursuit of the anti-life equation. For those of you who do not know, the anti-life equation is this mathematical equation within DC that allows Darkseid to control all life in the entire universe. Literally enslave it to his will, and that's pretty much it. But how I would do it is, instead of it just being like only part of the equation that he has to find, he has to find it in each of the DC movies throughout the 10 years, and it be little hints along the way. So the big thing with Darkseid is that he has the Omega symbol, which I can add to post later on, and it essentially could be hinted at throughout the various ways in the different movies. So you could have like an Omega symbol, or Omega wrestling, Omega whatever throughout each movie, and then later on explain during the actual Justice League movie that the anti-life equation was locked away with the Omega symbol on various parts of the universe. So we could have, like, say, part of it on Themyscira, which would link to Wonder Woman. You could have part of it on Oa to link to Lanterns. You could have part of it on Mars to link to Martian Manhunter, part of it on Krypton to lead to Krypton's destruction, because that could be the way that you could explain Krypton just didn't randomly blow up. It was actually Darkseid obtaining the part of the anti-life equation, and then go from there.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's like DC had so much potential to do a great Darkseid idea for their movie with Justice League, but they just tried too hard to bring back Superman within 5 minutes and ruin the whole bloody movie.
Yeah, I know. Just like, did you have to bring back Superman that early just to like because were they just terrified that the film was not going to have? I just wasn't sure. It seemed like to me like maybe the writers or who like the director was really scared about if we don't have say Superman in this film, then the film's not going to have as much
ratings.
Not going to have like as much relevance. So maybe let's bring back like Superman just to get people interested.
Exactly.
Like, just to give this film so much more hype so people want to watch it. But then it ended up doing the opposite effect.
It just, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's like with DC, they've never had an issue of having to be careful with what characters they use in their films.
No, I know.
They've had the right to their own characters for decades. They could do every single character.
Like, the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. But for the past almost 100 years, you think about it, how long they've been doing movies, give or take. Give or take, because I think the very first ever movie they did was 1940 something. So about 70 years that they've been doing films. They could have done so many different characters along the way, but it's only just like this past year they've sort of delved a bit further away from Justice League with DC streaming service.
Yeah.
So you got Teen Titans, well, not Teen Titans, you got Titans, because it can't be Teen Titans. And then you have Doom Patrol, the most obscure TV show I've ever watched. It's amazing. It's the best thing DC's ever done, but it's so obscure that you wouldn't even know it was DC. Unless you had the DC thing at the beginning. But other than that, they're very slow at trying to like divide away from the whole Superman and Batman repeat. Because it's like even during the CW shows, they just keep going, well, we know of this weird vigilante in Gotham. And they have Batwoman now to have a bit more diversity, but it's still part of the Batman.
Yeah, but it's
family.
Still the Batman thing. It's still there's no escaping that, no matter how much you want to jazz it up.
It's still the Cape Crusader, even if she is a lesbian Cape Crusader. But this is my thing. Is like that's great. Like I love what they're doing with Batwoman. It's a great choice for Ruby Rose. It's the way that they've done it. It's an amazing way. But we've had so many Batman-themed stuff. I just don't find it that intellectually stimulating anymore.
No.
Like, Gotham, the TV series.
Truthfully, I'm sick of it, to be honest.
Gotham, the TV series. Right, so the premise of that, did you ever hear what their idea was?
I may have done, but I'll let you carry on talking.
So, the whole premise of Gotham was it was never meant to focus on Bruce Wayne.
Yes, yeah.
The actual plot
was about Jim Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. Like his rise through the ranks of from being a standard detective to being commissioner.
Yeah.
And somehow they just
managed to shoehorn Batman in there.
They did.
It's just how they just managed to crowbar him in there with a really crap suit.
Well, the even worse bit was the fact that he wasn't even wearing the suit by the end of the actual series.
Hockey kit.
It was like they CGI'd his head on the actor that wore.
Why?
I know, this is what I can understand. Because they ended the series, did a 5 or 10 year jump.
Yeah.
And then they just CGI'd his face into the Batman thing.
Oh my god.
But Gotham, I think, this is another thing I think we could rewrite so easily. With me, for Gotham, I think Series 1 should have stayed as it is, like the focus on Bruce Wayne being distraught that his parents had just been shot down in the alley, and traumatizing forever.
So you wouldn't change that.
Season 1 standard, because that sets the groundwork.
Right, so we keep season 1 the same.
Yeah. I'd end it differently though, with the fact that Bruce Wayne doesn't stay in Gotham, and that Alfred takes him away for some time for him to try and cope with the loss, and then say bring him back either the second half of season 3 or early season 4.
Yeah.
And have it so that he's done some training, he's become what we know as Batman, because he does go, in the comics, he does travel the world to do the training, he does learn how to be, like Batman.
Like the way they portrayed it in like Batman Begins, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. This is how it should have been. But then have it, like, when he returns, you have him in not a Batman-styled suit of sorts, but in a sense that he's trying to better his city behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But make it so that it's not so obvious that it's him, even though we do know it is him. Because the thing that bugged me was, like, when they tried to make him Batman, he ends up fluffing up one thing, goes into PTSD, and becomes the billionaire playboy party boy within one episode. But that doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, so you're telling me Batman, the man without fear, literally, he has no fear.
The man without fear suffering from PTSD.
Yeah, exactly. And ends up going into a whole Playboy saga thing for like a few episodes.
Yeah, and
gets his ass kicked by Selina.
Yeah, but it's just when you look at it, you go, oh, that was a really quick U-turn, wasn't it?
It's just... They tried so hard to bring in Batman, but it didn't fit. Because, like, Batman wasn't meant to be the main focus anyway. It got to the point where I think they gave up trying to focus on Jim, and they were just bringing in every single Batman villain they could. Because it was like, you know the guy that played Butch?
Yeah.
They made him Solomon Grundy. But he wasn't Solomon Grundy. This is what really annoyed me. Like, Solomon Grundy is this behemoth of a character.
He's still raging about this.
He's a huge guy. Like, he's a Goliath. He's like this... I think it was during the Justice League cartoon series where Dr. Fate explained that Solomon Grundy was more than just this zombie-esque character. He was like a magical constant, if that makes sense. Like the balance between life and death. He had to exist. But like, Solomon Grundy was like this Gotham legend. Like he was... Cyrus Gold was this guy that got greedy and there was loads of... I never remember the whole backstory to it, but he had something to him. But then they just cheated it over by going, oh, well, Butch went into a coma. Oh, by the way, he's not actually called Butch, he's Cyrus Gold, and we're just dumping him in the river because we can't afford to keep him alive anymore. And then he becomes Solomon Grundy. Like, I don't know, it just... Yeah, it was hard to try and figure out what they were doing at the time. Because, like, the other thing as well, Riddler really bugged me, and it was something someone said to me years ago, and I still think it makes a lot of sense now.
Which is...
The only reason why Batman knew who the Riddler was is because they went to school together. So he was able to see who the Riddler was because he remembered the same riddles that the guy that he went to school with would go for. But in the TV series, Riddler is a CSI at the time that Bruce Wayne is 10 years old. So, it would be hard to try and explain how Batman was able to stop a guy obsessed with riddles if he'd never been experienced by riddles, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
So, again, it's like, they chose a good actor for the Riddler. But the way that they brought him in, I didn't like that they were giving him a split personality.
No.
Because he's the Riddler. He's not Joker. He doesn't have, like, a broken psyche. He's just a guy that likes
He's just a guy who loves...
puzzles.
Yeah.
Basically, that's literally it. That's the whole point of the Riddler.
And that is fine. That's fine.
I mean, the other thing as well is like Penguin. It was an interesting idea that he was a nobody that brought himself up through the ranks of a mob gang.
I know,
But then you add in the whole gay thing and his obsession with the Riddler. I don't have anything wrong with people being gay. That's fine. You can do whatever you like behind closed doors. But when you force it into a TV series,
like Gotham,
where there's no logic to it whatsoever,
like it's not even relevant to the story.
No,
not
exactly.
relevant one bit.
It just makes you question, why are you wasting your time and creating a story for somebody to be something that doesn't add anything to the character as a whole? It just makes you say, oh, we've just added this gay person to our TV show. Please watch us. Like, that's literally it. I mean, there's so many things in Gotham that make no sense to me. Like, the other thing as well, with Poison Ivy, when they aged her up twice, that's cringy as hell. Like, that's so wrong. Like, do you not understand how messed up it is that this girl was, 9 years old? There's this random guy that has the ability to age people up. She grabs his hand for like a minute, and she's ended up into this holy moly looking woman. Like, damn! Like, she looked amazing, but that's not the point. She's still got the mind of a 9-year-old. But then somehow she becomes trying to think of the very PG way of doing this without YouTube getting funny. Jessica Rabbit-esque mind, like very flirty and
right, yeah.
You see where I'm going with this? Like she's still technically.
If you don't get the whole Jessica Rabbit thing, just go Google it because I don't think YouTube will be happy to explain it.
But it's like she's still technically 9 years old, but she doesn't look it, and she doesn't act it, and it made no sense to me. Like what? I know where I live, there are probably some 9-year-olds that probably do develop like that, but that's not the point. Welcome to Devon, but
oh no, from Berkshire.
But it's like then she gets aged up again to like another is it 10 years? I think they.
It's about around that, yeah.
So then it's like she's aged up again, but again mentally she's still. Technically a 10-year-old. It made no sense. And then it's like they had Catwoman really well, I thought. Like it wasn't the weird Batman Forever idea where she gets licked to healed, and becomes like reflex cat. Like she's just literally a kid that has like ways of stealing people's stuff.
Yeah.
And very cat-like reflexes. And then, somehow, she becomes even more cat-like. I can never remember how, but it just ends up being really weird. Like, she starts behaving like a cat, where she starts licking the bowl of milk like a cat. You just think, what? Like, Catwoman is not literally a woman being a cat. She's just...
Has like the abilities of a cat.
Well, it's not even that. She's just stealthy and agile like a cat. Like she's obsessed with cats, yes, but she's not like a cat goddess. She's not like she has cat powers. I mean, would that suck or would that work? I mean, technically, you have 9 lives. You never fall to the ground unless it was on your feet. You'd be able to probably have better vision. But you'd be coughing up furball for days.
I mean, if we can go back to Catwoman with Halle Berry. Personally, regardless of what people think about the film, I actually thought it wasn't that bad. To be honest, I thought it wasn't terrible.
It wasn't terrible,
but it's just the way they were the way they kind of to demonstrate that. I can't really describe how she became Catwoman. I still can't really explain it. Whether the essence of a cat was breathed into her by this magical cat or whatever, I can't really explain it. But anyway, going into the whole abilities, like she's able to land on her feet, she's got superior sight, superior hearing, and so on. Doesn't have the mannerisms of a cat, though.
No, this is the thing. Like,
it's kind of like hinted upon when I think there's a point where, like, obviously she loves things like catnip.
Yeah, that was weird.
When that lady gave her the catnip, and like she was, yeah, it's just that part was just like, yeah, fine, but you don't really need to put that in the film. It was only a small smidgen of like the film, it wasn't that much.
But then it's like it was one step away from someone literally just being a bad guy going, "Oh, I got a ball of war here, pay the wall."
Yeah, and
like,
and then I just had this image in my mind of a crook just instead of pulling out a gun, pulling out a laser pointer, and just making a run around up the walls.
But going back to Gotham, I think they should have focused more on the idea of the mobs in Gotham, because that's the one thing that's been missing, I think, with a lot of Batman things. The early on comics wasn't about comics.
It's got like the premise of the old school New York gangsters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what's been missing from a lot of the Batman stuff. Like, it was through Christian Bale's one. They did do some of that.
Yeah.
But then they sort of went towards more of the sci-fi bit, which isn't bad. But the problem is you gotta make sure it's a slow burn. When it comes to sci-fi stuff, people just think if you add enough pizzazz and explosions to it, nobody cares. But you have to add a bit of real-world logic to the whole aspect of...
Yeah, because we were talking about the whole real-world logic about yesterday, I think?
Yeah, I mean...
Like, talking about the realism, like, when, well, we don't even really know still if Bruce Wayne ejected from the Bat, or if when we saw him in France, that was Alfred's grief-filled hallucination.
Yes.
You know, so just add in, like, just really a really quick point, the real-world logic of that bomb going off. The people of Gotham would still be affected, and people would still die because of radioactive fallout.
Yeah, it'd be pretty much Gotham's version of Chernobyl, essentially.
Basically.
But... going through Gotham, like I say, they could have done the mob thing. I think they could have done that for, say, season 1 and half of season 2. Then you could have had, like, I love the guy that they used as Joker in Gotham. He was amazing. But then they screwed up his backstory. That's what annoyed me. Because, I mean, technically there's no definitive backstory to the Joker, because he's just such an obscure character that there's no obviously definitive answer. But even Gotham writers said that it wasn't going to be the actor or this character, it wasn't going to be Jeremiah, it was going to be someone else who was inspired by him, which I thought was an amazing idea that got let down by going, oh, it's just his twin brother that's just been living in Gotham all these years because he's a genius. Like, really? Okay, like, I know you guys loved the actor, but you could have just had him, like, be the guy that made the actual Joker become the Joker. I mean, by the end of Gotham, what I found so odd was that he didn't even look like Joker, because he had... like, the hair was nothing there. It looked like a really bad comb over. But I've watched it like a couple of times. The only thing I do love is the suit, but then it's like the bit where he's like Batman, because you can't even tell it is Batman, throws a batarang and goes straight into Joker's hand, and he just laughs at it, which is a Joker thing, because he's insane.
Yeah, he's like sadistic.
But it just, like, it didn't look like Joker to me. It just looked like a clown that had a bad hair day. Like a really bad comb over.
Just that really white face.
Yeah.
But was that even like any kind of like the big smile? It was just so like a really thin like smile.
Yeah, but you couldn't even tell. You couldn't even tell that it was meant to be a giant grin. But it was just the fact that because there was so lack of hair, you couldn't even tell that was meant to be green. But I think the thing is, it's like, because there's so many different styles of the Joker, that's what they were trying to do with the actor. Because it's like, when you have the first version of him, his face gets cut off, which is from Death in the Family, I think?
I think so.
Where, what villain it is, but there's this guy that just randomly likes to take people's faces off, as you do. I didn't really understand Rippy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, they could have perhaps, like I say, do the whole gang war from season 1 to like season 2.5, bring in some obscure characters like Jeremiah Valeska during like the second half of season 2, and that the more insane characters establish the whole idea of Arkham Asylum, for it to then go into season 3, where Jeremiah creates the insanity like gas, which causes various insane villains of Batman Future. So you got like Psycho Pirate, you got crazy. You get my point. Like you have like the crazy characters.
So introducing the characters which, yeah, they're not relevant to the story. But then again, when you see them in that kind of context, when you really kind of explain Arkham Asylum,
Yeah,
and you explain about the heart, when you kind of expose a lot of different characters which we've not really been introduced to yet.
yeah.
But you kind of just go, you don't have to overexpose them too early, or even bring them in till much later on. You just go, oh my god, they're in this series.
Yeah.
But then if you don't see them for a while, that's fine. Like that is fine. You can see them in one season.
Yeah.
Introduce them in the next one. It might take a while, but then you kind of go, oh, are they going to play a part in like the series later on? You know, it's going to create a little bit of an aura of mystique.
I mean, the other thing as well is like the guy that they had as Hugo Strange. I liked him. He was very interesting, but I didn't like the fact that they used him as an excuse to create all the different villains. Like it was just, oh, he was an experiment of Hugo Strange.
Yeah, but
it's like Hugo Strange. He does experiment with lots of different things. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's the reason why there are every single Batman villain.
Oh, I agree.
But I mean, you also have like the Mad Hatter. That in itself, I never really fully understood that either, because it was his sister's blood somehow made people turn into these rage monsters. Did you ever see that?
I did. I'm pretty sure I have, but I think I haven't really tried to do much research into that.
Well, I couldn't understand that because I don't think that is anything at all comic book. I think it was just a random thing that Fox decided to add to the series.
It's like, oh, we'll put all this into a hat, and this was the one that was pulled out.
But the thing is, well, during the whole Mad Hatter moment, I don't know if they fully confirmed it or whether it was slightly implied that he did stuff to his sister, like some very...
It was kind of...
very iffy. Very hometown, sort of Sweet Home Alabama-esque.
Yeah, it's kind of... It wasn't like put it out there to like be obvious in the series, but then again, like hearing a lot of what he was saying in the series, and it just kind of made you just sit back and go, "Oh, I don't want to hear anymore."
Exactly, and it's like,
yeah, you don't need to elaborate, thanks.
But it's like,
I'm good.
When you had Fish Mooney, I didn't understand why they resurrected her, because she was never a big part of Batman's backstory.
Oh.
Like, I think the only reason why they brought her back was the fact that because she's married to Will Smith, she kicked off that she wasn't in it anymore. That was probably it.
Was Jada Pinkett?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, she was good in season 1 because she was the one that was making the Penguin into someone bigger and more important. Slowly but surely.
Yeah, that's fine.
But other than that, like, she had nothing else to
add.
She
didn't have any other relevancy apart from that.
No, and I think she should have stayed dead. I think the way that he killed her was the best way it worked. Because that's kind of how the way the mob works, in the sense that you can't have two people at the same power. It's I succeed you and go from there.
Yeah, it's like the rule of one. You can't have the rule of two.
Yeah. But it's just...
I was happy with the exit. It's like it's very mob-esque, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, there are so many things with Gotham that, in the end, I think they were just trying to play the game, guess the Easter egg, and hope that you understand the episode. Like, they would put in so many random Batman Easter eggs, but that was it. Like, when you first look at the Batman suit, it was so weird. It just, like...
I'm gonna have another look as we're doing this.
The mask looks so massive on him. I mean, I can't say what the suit reminded me of because of YouTube, but it rhymes with pimp, but with a G. Yeah, you get the gist. But here we go. So,
what is this thing?
Well, this is the thing. Like, we're looking on this phone at the moment. We will put it in post at some point, but it was CGI'd on. But there we go. That's him actually wearing a suit, but you can tell that
I hope you guys can see this. Actually, yeah, I've got a little bit of a better angle. Yeah, have a look at that.
Like
the CGI just...
Well, no, that's him actually wearing the suit. The previous image was him actually CGI'd into the suit. It was the full Batman-esque. But this thing...
that's a much clearer image.
Yeah. Let me just adjust the lighting.
Okay. Hope you guys can see this.
But yeah, that was
the general gist.
That was him CGI'd in. Like, I don't know what they were trying to do because.
To be honest, if I would have done Gotham myself, even like when you do introduce Batman, I wouldn't have. Even though the audience, like they could even just see like a silhouette and go, "Oh yes, we know this is Batman." But I wouldn't have overexposed him. I would have actually played it out for a little while. Maybe not even have Batman maybe appear subtly in one episode. Not have him in a few. Introduce him again. And gradually over time, kind of introduce a bit more instead of just having to go, bam, here's Batman.
Yeah, see, I would have it as like the very final series. You'd have.
I would leave my fans wanting more every time, and not including him in every episode after that. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have, say, you'd hear the fluttering of a cape at like random crime scenes, or
like you see a bunch of dudes beating up someone in an alleyway, and you just see like the silhouette on the back wall of the cape and the cowl.
Yeah. Or you just hear like this clang of the batarang that just.
We just see one of those batarangs just stick into the wall, and the episode just ends. Like that.
Exactly. Like you'd do it as a slow burn, and then you'd probably have like him talk to Jim Gordon, but it'd be like in the pitch black, and you'd have Jim Gordon in the light because the one thing they always say in the comics is that Jim Gordon is meant to be the light of Gotham. Like he's the least corruptible cop in all of Gotham.
Yeah, because I love the way they filmed. I love the way they filmed The Dark Knight. Because when they filmed the Dark Knight, when you had Heath Ledger as the Joker in the darkness with the very dark light, so you could still see it's him. You could barely see his face.
Yeah.
But you can clearly make out Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
I love the way they kind of did that, and I would have done a similar thing with Batman.
Yes.
Except, say what if Jim Gordon's in an alleyway and Batman's in the darkness. But you cannot see. But I would have had it. You cannot see him at all. It's in the darkness. You cannot see him, but you know he's there, and they're having a conversation back and forth.
See, what you could do as well to play on the whole comic book idea, because the one thing you never see with the suits, but you see in the comics, is the white eyes. You could have the mask have white eyes, so all you see in this darkness is white eyes staring back at Jim. And then the dark Batman voice.
Like, just for me, if I would have wrote off, for me, less is more.
Yeah, exactly. Because the whole point of Batman is that he is dark and mysterious. Literally dark and mysterious.
Yeah, the point is you're not meant to see him coming. That's the point.
I mean, the one character I loved in the entire series was Harvey Bullock.
Yes, yeah.
He just didn't want to be there half the time. That was the best part. Was the fact that he just didn't want to be there, but he was. Like, the guy was a great actor.
Well, listen, I've got to play golf at Harper.
But you could tell, like, he was an old cop that had enough. He didn't give two shoots about anything anymore. He was just tired. He knew how the city actually worked. He wasn't being a cop. He was being... I don't know how you would word it, but he was, like, the in-between the Gotham city officials and the mob, where they're both corrupted, but there was like a middle ground for him. He wasn't like a completely bad cop, he just wasn't a completely good one.
Kind of like a bit like an anti-hero, I suppose. An anti-cop.
Yeah, in the sense that he had a moral compass, but it all depended on the situation.
When it suited him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the one thing that worked with the series. But then when you had like Jim Gordon start breaking the rules and being the badass cop, trying to be dark, trying to fill in the idea that all of Gotham is like poison. I think that's literally what they said in the first series was that all of Gotham was poison. Like there was no good left in Gotham, and so that was what Jim Gordon's character was trying to drive to prove. And then somehow they just lost that. I mean, the other thing that I find so weird as well is the fact that his fiance in the first series is called Barbara. But obviously, that's not the daughter Barbara Gordon that he'll have in the future. Because that's with Lee Tompkins, the woman that he meets in season 3.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how did. Like, she ends up. At the end of the series, obviously, she has a child and they name her Barbara. But that really messed up because it's like by the time of season 3 or 4, I think, the first Barbara we meet has gone completely loony, basically, and has tried to kill Lee twice. How do you say, oh, by the way, I love you so much that I want my fiance to. Sorry, I love my fiance so much that when we have a child, I'm going to name our child after a woman that tried to kill her twice. Like, how would you like plug that? Like, and that's
unsuccessfully. That's the answer.
But this is the thing. It's like I didn't understand what they were trying to do with Barbara Gordon because they were trying to make her the Harley Quinn prequel idea, but then they scrapped that, brought in Echo. To what mind? I have no idea what she was doing. Because the thing that people don't think, this is what bugs me. Everything Harley Quinn related. Every single girl, ever since Suicide Squad. Because it was. Who was it that played her? Because I don't remember the name, but she's amazing.
Oh, I can't remember her name for the life of me.
But basically, because she was such a stunning actress, everyone assumed, and the way that they wrote it in Suicide Squad, the fact that Harley Quinn and Joker are lovers. They're not. Harley Quinn is a subject of.
It's a very weird relationship.
Well, it's Stockholm Syndrome. Because she basically gets manipulated by the Joker after she gets kidnapped by him into becoming his new assistant.
Yeah.
And she, time and time again, jumps through hoops for him, but he doesn't give a damn about her. Like, she was introduced during the 90s cartoon series, and there was twice, he literally whack her across the room and tells her to go away. And you think, that's not a healthy relationship idea. Why have you seemed to rewrite it in Suicide Squad and give all these girls this idea that Joker and Harley Quinn are lovers, but they're just misunderstood because they're criminals? Not how it works. Like, the Joker is insane and just doesn't give a damn about anyone but himself and will do anything he can.
It's like you cannot mess with this formula.
No,
you cannot mess with it. Sorry.
No, you can't. You can't give it a love story. It's not Romeo and Juliet.
It's not a love story.
No, this is the thing. But this is what bugs me when they come to doing Joker and Harley now, is that they assume that that's how they are, but they're not. Like, Harley Quinn is basically someone who was trying to fix the Joker. She was a psychiatrist, but she got manipulated by him. And
to put it quite simply, he's not interested in the slightest. He's only looking out for himself, and she's like a fangirl. She's like a stalker.
Pretty much.
That's basically it.
Well, it's like during the New 52, there's a Harley Quinn comic where Joker says to her, do you think you were the first one that I ever manipulated? And he throws her literally into a cavern of dead bodies of all these various Harley Quinn-esque bodies. In the end, it turned out that it was fake anyway. But that's the thing with the Joker, is the fact that that could be a possibility anyway. The fact that it's not about him and Harley. It's just him, full stop. Like, he's got more love for Batman than he does for her. Because, what was? I think there was a story where the Batman gives up being Batman. The Joker, because there was no more Batman, it was it was a Dark Knight. Batman retires as Batman, and because there was no more Batman, the Joker goes into a coma because he literally shuts his mind down because there's no more Batman. But then, as soon as Batman resurfaces during the Dark Knight, not the film obviously, but the comic series, the Joker wakes up from his coma.
But then you can kind of relate. You can kind of relate it back to the Dark Knight, where like even Bruce Wayne, Batman asks him like, "Why do you want to kill me?" And he like adamantly states, "I don't want to kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm having so much fun that you're even here."
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
they're saying like, "You give me a reason to carry on doing what I'm doing. Without you, I have nothing."
Yeah, exactly. But coming back to the whole series of Gotham. Trying to think what else did they actually do right, because there's so much they did wrong. It's hard to try and.
It's hard to find the good points.
Yeah, like they cast a really good actor to be the young Bruce Wayne, because like he looked like Bruce Wayne as a kid.
Yes.
But they aged him up way too quick in his like development to becoming Batman, when it wasn't even meant to be that. I think if they had just left it a bit later, it would have been a really interesting idea when he came in eventually. That's what sucked about the series, was they were trying so hard to bring in Batman when he wasn't even Batman. Like, he was barely 15 by the time he got the suit. But Batman has a 10-year time gap before he becomes Batman.
Yeah, because how old was I can't remember actually. Like, how old was Bruce Wayne when he like first donned like the suit? Roughly, how old was he?
Well, he was 10 when his parents got shot.
Yeah, so
he'd have to wait about 8 years, I think, of school, because if you think about it, it's like 18 is the like legal leaving age, give or take, for his education. Give or take.
Yeah.
So they then, I think it's like a 10-year time, so it's about 28, 27 at the earliest that he's meant to be Batman. That's, I think, the like rough guideline of when he is Batman. Then you take into account that by the end of the series, he is, what, 20? Give or take? Well,
roughly. Yeah.
Somehow he's meant to be, like, aged 20 by the end of the whole series. I don't know how, but yeah. I don't know, it was just more complicated time travel logic than Terminator, but that's a discussion for another time.
It's just for me, I would have not had Batman in it as much. As I said earlier on, less is definitely more for me.
Yeah.
And I would have, like you said, had it been a very slow burn to where like fans are craving for more, and it'd be a very slow, gradual appearance rather than just a plot. There he is.
Yeah. I mean, I did like the fact that they introduced Selina and him as children. Like, they met each other and she was the one that witnessed the murder. But, like, they couldn't. When they tried to add her into it and then she decides to not help out, that's what annoys me. Because she could have just gone, oh, well, I saw the aftermath and that be it. But she witnessed the whole thing. The whole reason why Batman became Batman is because of his pursuit of trying to find who killed his parents. And they revealed that very quick as well in season 1. I can never remember the guy that is the mugger, but essentially in Gotham the TV series...
What's his name? It'll come to me.
Thinking it's Joe something, but I could be wrong. But essentially they use the idea that the mugger was actually Poison Ivy's dad, but then it wasn't. They just tried to pin it on him for the sake of doing it. But
Joe Chill.
Yes, see, I knew it was that. So I don't think they should have revealed it so quick.
No.
I think we could have just done what they always did in Gotham was the fact that it was just it's just a random thing that normally happens here. We'll just shove it in the cold case pile, and then bring it back for when Batman returns for his like very first case. Because I don't think it's often that they actually show him get his final revenge.
Oh, just like with the case of his parents being murdered, like you said, we're shoving it straight in the cold case files. Like I would have been happy with shoving it in the cold case files, and then up until we see Batman for his first time, we don't hear of it ever again. I would have had that. We don't hear of it till then.
But you could also like say when you bring in Batman, you could have all like these well-known muggers randomly getting abused by some hooded figure in random alleyways that are down Crime Alley, and that's how you bring in the idea of Batman.
Yeah, without even you don't really have to have even the visual of that happening. You can just like hear it when like
the fluttering of Kate,
or like when a mugger talks to like his boss or something, and just say earlier on like this happened or whatever. You know, introduce the mystique.
Yeah,
like just little piece by little piece.
But also remember the personal reason why it all began was because of one mugger ruined a day.
Yeah.
There was a cartoon series they had years ago called Batman Brave and Bold, which was based on basically the very early on comics of Batman, where it's the like blue and grey suit.
Yeah.
And I think it's the very last episode where he actually meets Joe Chill, and he's actually like quite high up in the crime boss world, and he's basically Batman goes, "You're the reason why I am the way I am. Like, if it wasn't for you, if you hadn't have shot my parents when I was 10 years old and stolen that pearl necklace, I wouldn't be here today." And like the guy like starts panicking, runs away, runs into the next room where all the villains are, and he goes, Guys, do you remember that job I did years ago, that kid that survived? Well, it turns out like he's Batman, and all the villains turn on him because it's like, so you're the reason we're getting our asses kicked every day because you are the reason that Batman exists. And it's like, shoot. And all the villains start ganging up on Joe Chill, and Batman just silks off and watches it from afar and just goes, you know what? I don't need to do anything yet. And that's it. Like, that's how the series ends.
I think that's brilliant.
But that's the thing, like, never get that finale, because I think I'm sure they did it in Batman Begins. Like, he hunts down Joe Chill.
He does originally, yeah.
But it doesn't seem to have that same effect because, like,
because when you have like in the film when he takes the gun into where the courthouse is as he's coming out, but then he gets executed by the mob.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a that was a letdown.
You know, because I fully expected Bruce Wayne to like get into like get a little bit of trouble, or maybe it was going to happen a little bit later on to where Bruce Wayne didn't have the chance to take his revenge.
Yeah.
But then, just when that happened so earlier on in the film, I just kind of went, oh, I guess that's that then.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know, it just needed more.
Well, it's like, they could have, because the thing is that when they killed off Joe Chill so easily, like, they revealed that he was the reason behind the Bruce Wayne murder in the first place. But what motivation does he have then after that once Joe Chill's died to become Batman? The only reason he became Batman was the fact that he chickened out from shooting him. But that doesn't make sense because the whole reason why Batman isn't into guns is because of his parents' murder in the first place.
Yeah, except like Bruce Wayne didn't know that I can never remember what the college called, the group he was. What they called again? Where he trained.
Oh, the League of Assassins.
Was it League of Shadows?
League of Shadows or League of Assassins. It's both the same thing.
I can't remember, but anyway. Like, it's not too much later on in the film that he does have a purpose to put on the Batman suit.
Yeah.
Really.
But it doesn't sort of it doesn't equal the same idea that he became Batman to prevent or to put a stop to the guy that created his whole trauma, because the guy had already been killed by someone else. He had nothing else to stop, if that makes sense.
I mean, you could have had Batman Begins roll the same way, except keep Joe Chill alive for longer.
Yeah.
Keep him alive for longer, and let the story play out roughly the same way as it did in the film. But don't have him die until a little bit later on, because then, even though Joe Chill is now dead in the film, which is much later on, after he's gone through the whole thing with trying to take down his mentor and everything like that, and the League of Shadows turn on him and so on, he still has now he has that purpose and has that drive to want to make Gotham better. But he still gets the opportunity with Joe Chill.
He still gets the satisfaction of
it. Yeah, like, do you understand where I'm going?
Yeah. Like, what he should have done instead is, like, have more of Joe Chill's impact within Gotham, working with the mob and trying to show where he actually is, besides being just a random guy that was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because the only reason why he got shot was because I think they said that he was getting a plea deal because he was going to be a mole within the mob, and the mob killed him off so they couldn't use him anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, like, Joe Chill was just a random mugger. Like, he should have progressed a bit more as, like, a reason why Batman had to hunt him down, instead of just being...
I just felt that if they kept Joe Chill alive for longer,
yeah,
it would have, like, you could have followed on the plot and everything with the League of Shadows. If that is the way you could have followed the plot on pretty much exactly the same as it was in the film.
Yeah.
But have Joe Chill inserted in round about after Liam Neeson's character dies.
Yeah.
Because you could still have a scene with Joe Chill afterwards. But except with Bruce Wayne, it would be Batman. Maybe Batman takes off the mask and show like, this is what I've become because of you.
Yeah.
And still have that scene. I just felt it would have had more impact.
Instead of saying, like, this is what you made me, maybe just go, do you remember that 10-year-old kid that you traumatized all those years ago, and those pearls, do you still have them in your pocket?
Yeah, and then like, maybe you see like a flashback of like the pearls dropping to the floor.
Yeah, and you hear the gunshot go bang, and you see
and you see the wallet falling into the floor.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing is with Batman is they started off in the comics, obviously. He's now 80 years old, Batman, these stories, and it was all based on the mob. It was all, in a sense, like basic crime ideas. Like, it was a bit outlandish, some of it, of course.
Yeah.
But over the years, Batman's become so obscure, it's hard to rationalise him.
I know.
And every single story always ends with, oh, he's Batman, he's always got a backup plan. But that's a letdown, because it just makes you think, well, if that's the case...
No!
But then it makes you think, well, if that's the case, yes, he is trained in so many different things.
But then does he have a backup plan for his backup plans?
Well, yeah, he does, Jeremy. But he is just an average man at the end of the day that has a lot of wealth and a lot of gadgets. If the rest of the Earth had the exact same tools as him, would they be as good? And I would say no, because it's Batman. Like, you can't have more than one Batman. You can have the Batman family, but at the end of the day, it depends on whose book it is, depends on who is the superior one, which really annoys me, because then it makes it so inconsistent. I mean, that's safe to be said for every single comic anyway, because depending on... if there is, like, a big crossover story, depending on whose book it is, depends on who's the most superior one. I mean, it's like... for years, people were trying to say, who's faster? Superman or the Flash? It's the Flash, obviously. But then they tried BSing it out so many times, and then it's like... during the 90s, I think it was, they finally just said, yeah, the Flash is faster, and it was just like, he literally says to Superman, we've raced so many times, and there are times that I let you win, but this is how fast I can go, and he just, like, there's like, you imagine Superman's here, the Flash was there as well, he's there within half a second, like, yeah, the guy is faster, but, yeah, there anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think that's pretty good. But that was actually a really good tangent to go.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things with DC that we can deconstruct for days because there are so many potentials with it. But the problem is like they just know how to get out of the Batman and Superman loop. And I think as soon as they can break that,
I mean, it's like I said to you, like Batman and Superman, like are forever going to be the pillars of DC.
oh yeah, no doubt. But there will come a time where you just think,
where you have to just set them aside.
You have to let everyone else shine through because there's nothing more you can do with them two anymore. Like
what can you do apart from reboots? Apart from rehashes?
Well, this is the thing. Like they've had so many times of their own movies. Like the Christopher Reeve movies, they were amazing for their time.
I loved those movies.
But there are times that I do question it as well. Like when he was able to reverse time by spinning the Earth, that never made sense.
That wouldn't actually change.
If anything,
you would just screw with gravity's pull.
Well, I was going to say, if anything, it would just make days go in reverse. You'd end up having like 6 a.m. look like dark and 6 p.m. look like daylight.
Yeah, but as far as time, it would not change time.
No.
It would just change. It would change time zones, but it wouldn't change time.
No, you're not Tina Turner. You can't turn back time.
Wait, wasn't that Cher?
No, it was Cher. Not. Why am I thinking Tina Turner? But yes, I do hope eventually we do get more from DC. I mean, they got so many DC shows at the minute. We got Stargirl, which comes out next year, which looks really interesting. Doom Patrol, you watch that, is absolutely amazing. Titans, Season 1 was a bit iffy. Season 2 made it a little bit more comprehensible. Looking forward to seeing how Season 3 goes, if they actually get it. Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. I find it very hard to watch. Like, it's not been about the whole idea of the storyline of Crisis of Infinite Earths. It's more been about, guess the Easter egg. Because there's been so many Easter eggs, because they've had so many different TV shows along the way. I just don't know what they're trying to do, because they're trying to make it as a way of saying, this is the Arrowverse, and everything else is in between has been here before, and it was just on a different Earth. But at the same point, it's just like, well, are you wrapping things up, or are you trying to establish more out of it? Because the whole idea of Crisis on Infinite Earths was it was trying to collapse down the multiverse. Because DC has its multiverse, and so they decided that they were going to wipe it all out and then literally just have one Earth. I don't know if they're going to...
Oh, excuse me.
I don't know if they're going to stick with that plan, because they've made it so complicated, this CW version. It has nothing to do with the actual storyline itself from the comics, that... I don't know, I find it really iffy. It's just... You have to watch it to try and understand it, I suppose, but it's like they got Legends of Tomorrow, they got Flash, they got Arrow, they got Supergirl. They bought out Supergirl because it was owned by a different TV network at the time. So they placed her on a completely different Earth to the other three shows. Okay, that's fair enough. But when you start tweaking things, like you have... You know the show Lucifer?
Yeah.
That is actually a DC property.
Is it?
Yeah, that's Lucifer Morningstar is actually a DC Comics character.
Oh, I actually did not know that.
Yes. And his Earth is Earth 666 because he's the devil. Like that wasn't I wonder how long it took them to come up with that concept. But they literally he's in it. He does a cameo of a scene that's only 5 minutes long. And it's literally Constantine that goes to Earth 666. Even though he's from Earth 1, he somehow ended up on that Earth before, knows Lucifer. He ends up at Lucifer's strip club or whatever it is, knocks on the door, says that Lucifer owes him a favour, and he gives him a card to go down to hell to get Oliver Queen's soul because it's trapped in purgatory. Right? but what has this got to do with the like destruction of the multiverse? Like, they've spent more time stringing in random cameos from people than actually doing anything about the destruction of the multiverse. Like, in Legends of Tomorrow, they got all these random characters that they never knew what to do with, and one of them is called Heatwave, which is the Flash rogue villain. But for some bizarre reason, they don't use the Earth 1 version for the crossover.
No.
They use a completely different Earth version, I think it's like Earth 74, that somehow behaves, looks, sounds like the Earth 1 version. But because they want to add like the multiverse, he's just a... Yeah, exactly. So that really annoyed me. It's like, well, what's the point of even doing that? One thing I did find very cool, though, Brandon Root suited up as Superman again. Yeah? He was... I'm trying to remember what Earth he is, but he looks like the Kingdom Come Superman. And
Oh, wow.
He looks beast. Like, he actually trained himself back up to look really beefy again. And he looks amazing. Because you got, like... The CW version of Superman wasn't Tom Welling, sadly. He did do a cameo, but his cameo was just a flop as well. But you have Tyler Hincklon, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's one of these many actors that did a CW series based on werewolves, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he's not a small guy, but he's like a slightly average muscular guy. He plays him next to Brandon Roof, who is like this behemoth of muscly guy, and you think, right, so you got sort of Superman and then actual Superman. Like, it's so funny how tiny he looks. I'll have to show you later. It's hilarious. But we'll have to wait and see, because the annoying thing is with the crossover was that they've done 3 episodes, and then the last 2 aren't until next month. So we have, like, a month wait to finish this crossover, by which time I think a lot of us fans are like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to add to this week's episode?
No, I'm pretty satisfied with what we got.
Well, this has been DC Comics Deconstructed. We will be back at some point with more ranting, more comic book theories, and more crafting along the way. As usual, all the links to our Instagrams and other pages are down below. And we will catch you guys next time. See you later.